Momentum is picking up for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New England Patriots for DK Metcalf as a landing spot for DK Metcalf, who I believe is probably one of, if not the most underrated player in fantasy football right now. And you may see DK Metcalf in the thumbnail of 4 or 5 of the last 7 or 8 videos. But there's a theme here on the Fantasy Football Show where we beat a dead horse if needed. When nobody's reacting appropriately and I need to sound the alarm that a player needs to be had. Now, we don't regurgitate information. This is all new. Everything is new, fresh. Steelers, Patriots, have got that news for you. Okay, why the momentum is kicking into high gear. But we're breaking down where we want them to go. We're taking your phone calls, your fresh angles and takes. It's always going to be brand new information, even if it's the same topic. File on in, momentum building. Pittsburgh Steelers are calling. The New England Patriots, according to everybody, are the lead dog candidate. But does DK Metcalf feel that way? Would he feel that way if everybody's coming and knocking for DK? The Fantasy Football Show begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Here we are talking DK Metcalf yet again. DK Metcalf is going to the moon in 2025. Actually, he's going to Mars.
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars man.
DK Metcalf is the most recently added Mars man. And
loads dropping and spinning aimlessly in
he
space.
Can win you a league. He can win you a league. Not to mention that he's probably going somewhere because his biggest gripe is not getting the football. I'm sure he wants money too. He'll get an extension. But his biggest gripe is not getting the football. Does anybody think in their right mind that DK Metcalf, who holds all the cards essentially right now because his willingness to do a contract extension will either put the kibosh on a trade or double stamp it for approval? Does anybody think he's going to choose a location where he's not going to be oversaturated and given more and more work moving forward? Being the number one wide receiver, the New England Patriots makes a lot of sense for that particular request and desire. But can he find a Buffalo Bill situation that's more likely to lead to a Super Bowl appearance with the money and with also the workload? So DK's navigating this in ways that we can't even measure or understand right now. And DK Metcalf is the one that's going to decide where he goes, you know, within reason. There are going to be teams that call up and say, hey, here's the offer. Buffalo could say, we're not giving a second rounder. Okay. The Seahawks, I'm sure, are asking for a first rounder. No one's saying they're going to get that. But if, let's say, Buffalo goes, we're only going to give you a fourth, then he can't go to Buffalo. He can't just dictate where he goes 100%. But if all things are equal, he will dictate which direction to go toward. Now, if the New England Patriots, let's swing over to the New England Patriots right here, if they're the ones giving the very best offer, and they are thought to be a team that's desperate enough, and by the way, we got 10 gifted memberships from, I believe, Mr. T. Can we give a standing ovation real quickly, Mr. T?
Mashed potatoes!
Mr. T dropping 10 gifted memberships. I think another additional one. Thank Mr. T if you got a gifted membership. DK Metcalf might be seeing the Patriots get really desperate and desperate in not necessarily, I want to say it in a way that sounds bad, just that they're willing to pay the price. But we also heard a report today that the New England Patriots were firmly in the advantage state of getting Chris Godwin. So, hard to take everything without taking it with a grain of salt when you're hearing that the Patriots are, by all accounts, the favorite to get DK Metcalf. The Patriots, by all accounts, are the favorite to get Chris Godwin if he does go outside of Tampa Bay to continue his career. But you can't have both of them. They're probably not going to have both of them, although it would be wise to bring in both of them. Imagine Drake May with Godwin and DK. But it's likely going to be one if they can even pull it off. The downside of New England, or you could say the crutch of them getting one of these two players, is that the moment one other team gets aggressive, the moment one other team levels up the offer, New England loses. If it's a Buffalo Bill team, or if it's a Baltimore Raven team, or if it's a Washington Commander team, or something crazy like that, because they're a step closer to the Super Bowl. They're a team that has, in probably most people's opinion, although it's not fair because Drake May can get there, but a more solid quarterback, one that DK will believe in a little bit more, even though he probably does like the idea of Drake May. He probably loves the idea of being the number one wide receiver and really the only target hog in New England. If he goes to New England, he's going to mother freaking Mars. Because he's the only one catching footballs there, and Drake May can throw any football he wants into the air. And I'm not saying Drake May's a bad passer, but he's still learning. So he's throwing this up to a Volkswagen. He's got the wingspan of a Volkswagen. This makes Drake May more accurate immediately. Drake May to DK Metcalf is a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Maybe he's 12, maybe he's 10. I'm not saying he has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. He's a wide receiver 1. But he's going in rounds, 5. Round 5. DK Metcalf can be your 5th drafted player. It's criminal. It's criminal. And you get to be the criminal. You get to be the villain in this story. And go get DK Metcalf and steal him away from all your league mates at 5th drafted player value, at round 5 territory. That wins you a league. There's almost no scenario where DK Metcalf doesn't go and become a fantasy football wide receiver 1. Tell me a scenario. Is he going to pick a really bad location? Smitty, I've heard that he might want to go and play in Jacksonville behind BT. No, he doesn't want to go to Jacksonville. He doesn't want to go to a place. The only place he'd go to be the 2 would be maybe a situation like the Dallas Cowboys, or where he believes in the quarterback. He believes in the situation. He's going to get paid big money. But Dallas, even though they've freed up about $50 million in cap space, it does make you wonder if Jerry's going to pocket every dime of it, or is he going to spend some of it? That would be a good spot from a football perspective. The Cowboys would be contenders immediately with DK, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, the number 12 pick, which they could spend on Genty if they want. You hear reports that they're not going to go after Genty. Why would you telegraph what you're doing anyway? But the only situation I'll say that I do not love is this one that's also in the headline. Do I think he's going to pick Pittsburgh? No, I don't. You know why? Because they don't have a quarterback buttoned up right now. That might tell him, hey, Justin Fields is going to be our guy. But we all know that the consensus out there on Justin Fields, fair or not, and I think Justin Fields has a lot more to offer than what people suggest he does. I don't think the combination of Justin Fields, or the idea of Justin Fields, when he's not even the starter yet, he's not even retained, he's not even on the roster, Pittsburgh has no quarterback. I think the last thing in the world this guy wants, I don't believe in this. I believe they called. I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers have called, but I don't believe he's going to choose this destination. And he can choose, because he can say, no, I'm going to squash this by not signing an extension. And Pittsburgh's going to go, but we want you to sign an extension or we can't do it. And he's going to go, too bad, I'm not coming. Why would he go to a team with no quarterback? Why would he go to a team that can't even keep George Pickens happy? And it's 90% of it's on Pickens, but even the 10% that's created Pickens to be a little bit bigger monster than he is. Why would he go there? His 2 gripes are what? quarterback play, not feeding him the ball, and he also wants to be paid, and he also wants to be on a team that is going to feed him. How is he going to get fed in Pittsburgh? No quarterback, sharing touches. He doesn't want that. He just shared touches with JSN. You think he wants to go share touches with George Pickens, Diva George Pickens? This is not the place he's going to pick. If he goes to the Steelers, the only reason he would go to the Steelers is because there's no other option. And that's not the case. We're hearing that, quote, tons of teams, unquote, are interested in DK Metcalf. The only way he goes to Pittsburgh is if all these tons of teams are offering fourth rounders and there's only one team offering a second or the highest possible trade scenario. And he says, I'd rather go here than stay in Seattle. Punch the button, Ted. That's the only way that he goes to Pittsburgh. This one is not the landing spot. And so I'm not that concerned. He's picking a location where they have a quarterback. He's picking a location where he's the number one wide receiver. And he's picking a location where they'll pay him top dollar. Pittsburgh's not paying him top dollar to be their number 2 wide receiver. Pittsburgh's not paying him what New England would pay him. New England will write a blank check. New England will give him ownership. New England will get him an iPad. They'll give him Skittles piled to the roof. This guy eats Skittles for lunch. That's all he eats is Skittles. A bag of Skittles nearly every day. They'll give him Skittles for life. The Steelers won't give him near what the Patriots will give him. So if we're deciding between these two, the Patriots are going to be way more trigger happy. Way more willing to overpay financially. Way more willing to overpay in draft capital. Way more willing to overload his locker with Skittles. This team is the more likely team to land this deal. And it's the more likely team he would choose. If it does come down to Pittsburgh and New England, it's going to be the Patriots. Pittsburgh can call all they want. The report is, and I'll even pull the report on, which I haven't even put up on screen yet. I think it's this one. Seahawks about DK Metcalf. Pittsburgh is seeking a talented wide receiver. Yeah, of course they are. That doesn't mean that they're in the lead. So all these Pittsburgh reports today are just reports. They're nothing at all. DK Metcalf, here's this. Everybody in the league thinks that DK is going to New England. Drake May will finally have his wide receiver 1. This coming from Daniel Jeremiah. But this is also speculation. There's no guarantee here. People can think what they want. I still think of the 2 spots, this is the only one. But I still believe Buffalo. I don't know how much of it is me using logic and not realizing Buffalo doesn't always use logic, but Buffalo needs to be involved. Buffalo needs to be involved. I wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay ramped up the attempt as well. Wouldn't be surprised if the Baltimore Ravens said, hey, we got Lamar, we got Henry, a Super Bowl is in our cards. Make sure you come over and be a part of it, DK. And that's where you might say, well, Smitty, I thought you don't want him to go somewhere where he can't get targets. I think Baltimore, even though I'm very hell-bent against Lamar Jackson, listen to what I'm saying, because some of you in the comments will say, Smitty, why do you think Baltimore's good? I'm telling you. Watch the damn show once in a while. Some of you in the comments ask me a question I spend 25 minutes explaining. So listen to me. If you're going to say, why Baltimore, Smith? Listen to what I'm saying. I usually don't love Baltimore at all for really any landing spot other than running back because Lamar does not produce top 20 wide receivers. He doesn't. Never has. Maybe never will. DK might be a curious case of that not being the case because I think this is his Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is falling. I like Isaiah Likely. If they don't go get another big name receiver or pass catcher, I think Likely goes.
Stock on the rise.
I think Isaiah Likely is going to be a fantastic play this year. Fantastic. He's shown signs of being remarkable. It's just the spreading around of the ball that's hurt him, not him. He hasn't hurt himself. It's been the volume share, the target share. But if this man lands on roster, in Baltimore. I think Lamar just says, where are you, DK, in the end zone 10 to 12, 14 times in the 2025 season. I think this could be a scenario where, yeah, maybe he barely gets 1,000 yards. Maybe it is a 950 to a 1050 yardage type range, which isn't something you want for your number one fantasy football wide receiver. But when you pull in like 13 or 14 or 15 touchdowns, which is what he'd do, because look, Mark Andrews lived in the end zone when he was in his prime. Lamar knows how to feed a big, massive target in the end zone. This could be a 1,000-yard even, 70 reception. It doesn't have to have 100 receptions. It would be nice in PPR, but when you get you offload some of that potential into the touchdown department, everything's going to be okay. DK Metcalf,
Stalk on the ride
to the moon no matter what. I'll leave you with this. We'll be back in just a little bit. We probably will go live again before the 8 p.m. show, possibly. That's how much news is constantly, getting kicked into gear. We got a super chat here from Bros Pros who says Steelers trying to get a wide receiver again. Yeah, but they don't try hard enough, right, Bros Pros? That's the whole thing. Is we want one. Oh, we're not willing to pay. We want one. Hey, are you guys giving away DK Metcalf? This is Pittsburgh. Are you giving him away for free? You want something for him? Okay, that's too much. Final thoughts here. We'll be back tonight. Or we'll be back not only at 8 p.m., but we'll be back before on some live stream. We'll be live about 4 times today. This is one of 4. And the Dynasty channel, link in description. We'll be live probably on the Dynasty channel later as well. Guys, listen to what I'm saying. DK Metcalf's value is going up. He is a Mars man.
He's on a shuttle to Mars.
For a reason.
Mars man.
He's going up in value. You can either get on this train or you can watch the train go straight past you. He's becoming a fantasy football wide receiver 1. He's the biggest steal in the 5th round in fantasy football, period. Period. There's no better value. There's no place you can find a wide receiver later in a draft than in round 5. Wide receiver 1. DK Metcalf. Is he wide receiver 12? Maybe. Wide receiver 10? Maybe. Wide receiver 8? I think he could be a top 7 wide receiver in the right spot in Buffalo. In this Patriots environment, 8 to 12? He's choosing a better location than where he's at now. His value will only go up. This is like buying a home right now and expecting the value to eventually go up. Buy the home. The value's going up. Do it live. Be back in a bit. Make sure you got those notifications on when we go live. Thank you for the super chat, Bros Pros. Thank you for the gifted memberships, Mr. T. Mr. T and Bros Pros to the moon. Mr. T and Bros Pros stock is up. You hear that, Mr. T and Bros Pros?